is going on, South Harmon Fantasy Football world? It is the week 10 episode of the game plan. Today's episode was going to be pretty much like the rest. We are breaking down some of the rankings. Of course, we're going to do this week in WoRP. I got some takes that I developed using the world famous WoRP tool over at southharmonff.com. First of all, foremost, if you're here early morning, 9 a.m., we went the 9 a.m. start because we got the Germany game. Shout out to Big J in the chat. We'll get to your question. Don't you worry. And of course, my man Dynasty Barry's in the chat. Thank you so much for you guys tuning in and hanging out with me. 9 a.m. on a beautiful Sunday morning to get the week 10 slate started. I keep calling it a London game. We have a Germany game, a Europe game here in about a half hour. So we'll have probably the last bit of the show going on the same time as the game. So feel free to play both. Of course, we'll be answering all the chat questions because we got to get those lineups primed and ready. So without further ado, make sure you are tuned in, tapped in. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit subscribe to South Harmon FF because you don't want to miss anything that we got coming out. We got Start or Shit here at noon with Eric and the boys. And last but not least, hit that, leave a comment. Because even if you don't get your lineup question in now, while I'm live, while I'm on the air, I'll check it throughout the day. Make sure that those questions are ready to go because game planning for your week 10 victory is the most important thing here at the game plan. So, folks, without further ado, get out your pens, get out your pads, and let's start game planning for week 10 dubs. All right, so let's start the show off with some updates, some news and notes from around the NFL, some things that may have come out last night. There's not a whole lot that is kind of broke overnight. It's a lot of the things that we were expecting were confirmed, like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence will not play with that shoulder injury. It will be the Mac Jones show. Some are saying, could it be the Travis Etienne emergence, because we all know that Mac Jones loves to check it down. Remember Andre Stevenson a couple years ago, 69 receptions, led the league. So we are going to be on the lookout for how that offense looks with Mac Dizzle at the helm. We already knew that Darius Slayton was going to be out, so in our deeper leagues, we were making other arrangements. He didn't make the trip. Here's a bit of a surprising one, though. The Panthers did declare Jonathan Brooks, OUT. If you are a Jonathan Brooks rosterer, you are not happy with the week, with how the week unfolded. The big-time extension, $15 million guaranteed over 4 years to Chuba Hubbard. And then what I would call a surprise inactive here in Germany. Drake London will play with that hip pointer. It was mainly a pain tolerance issue at this point, and he's looking like he's going to be able to tough it out. Micah Parsons is going to play. I only bring up a defensive player because, of course, that will affect the amount of time that Jalen Hurts has to throw and how they game plan, but we're still firing up all them Eagles. Tyreek Hill. Now, this is the one that you got to make sure you game plan for. Tyreek Hill is questionable, and it's the scary kind of questionable. It's not, he's going to play for sure, but he's just a vet. No, this is questionable. So you need to make other arrangements. If you want to get down in the nitty gritty, the dirt, you could always have Odell Beckham as your backup plan. But I would look to see what kind of Demarcus Robinson, if he's out there, I would grab him, put him on my roster. You got to make sure that you have a player that you can insert into your lineup if he is out. And if you roster Tyreek Hill, folks, make sure right now, don't even wait. Get your phone out right now. Move Tyreek Hill from your wide receiver spot to your flex. Give yourself the maximum amount of pivots. You want to be able to put a tight end there, put a receiver there, or put a running back there. You want to make sure that you're not just putting yourself in the corner when it comes to Tyreek Hill because it is questionable. Now, on Sunday Night Football, we will have a treat. Nico Collins has been activated and will play. Remember, Puka Nacua, people, that first game back, he went off on Thursday Night Football against the Vikings. So if you have Nico Collins, you're firing up. Smoke it if you got it. Austin Seaver is out today, which this is the first time I've ever talked about a kicker, but he's been so good. So in our dinosaur leagues, make sure that you're picking somebody up now. Tank Dell is expected to play, which is good. Dak Prescott, we all know he is going to be out for the remainder of the season. It looks like Chris Olave could be done for the rest of the season, given the team's record, given the countless amount of head injuries he's gotten this season alone. And he's a guy, if you look up his concussion history, it's pretty extensive. So we're wishing him the best, wishing him speedy recovery. Make sure everything is there, because that's a big deal. It's it's scary when that type of injury happens. Kareem Hunt was taken off the injured list, that's going to be him until Pacheco comes back. He's going to be on the injury list. He's going to miss some time, and then he's going to come back. Last one, Gus Edwards. He's questionable to play. It's not really a matter of getting him in your lineup, but if you have a roster spot in our seasonal leagues, if you got a back end of your bench that's open, add him. Who knows? It's not like he's going to come in and get 2 touchdowns today, but he was a guy that was pretty universally rostered at the beginning of the season. So he's been dropped pretty much everywhere. So if you need to get another piece of depth, if you want to just add some running back depth, like I would say that this is the move to make. Just add him, throw him in the back of your bench, and keep it going. So I'm seeing the chat starting to pop up. Fizzle Dollars, what's going on? Fizz, Ryan's in the chat. Gooner Boy, good morning to you. Ryan C, of course, good morning to you. Let's get some of these questions before we get into the rankings talk. Start 2, Herbert, Downs, Mooney, Devontae Smith, Dell. Currently have Mooney and Smith in my lineups. I'm going to put Downs in there. And I'm assuming that's Khalil Herbert. I would imagine just one random quarterback in this mix. But if it's Justin Herbert, I'd play Justin Herbert. But I'm going to go actually with Devontae Smith and Josh Downs. I like Mooney. Mooney's a top in my rankings this week. I think I have him at 21. But I love Downs. I got Downs at 17. The volume's been there. The targets have been there out of the slot for the Colts. And then, of course, Devontae Smith, I got him a lot higher. I got him at 6. I think he balls out today. So we're going to definitely go with those 2. Are we playing Tyreek Hill on Monday with no options if he's zeros? If you got no options, DB, you gotta make some other arrangements today. And I hate to say it like this because it's kind of crass for this type of player, but he hasn't done shit. Really, he's been good, not great. And if he's dealing with a wrist injury, we saw the wrist injury take Amari Cooper off the field without really notice. So if you don't have a solid Monday night option or Sunday night option, yeah, I would make the other arrangements right now. Like, don't even wait. Michael Wilson or Chris Rodriguez, deep flex. If it's PPR, I'm going to go with Michael Wilson. If it's not, maybe Chris Rodriguez. He did look good in his limited time. There is no Brian Robinson today. He has already been ruled out earlier in the week. But I'm going to go with Michael Wilson, high upside, big play upside. Yeah, how we feeling about Tyreek Hill right now? Yeah, we talked about it, Fizz. It's just you got to have some – it's rough. That's like the worst. The wrist injury, decoy possibility. You can still run. I like to play a little bit fast and loose, so I would look to see what I got on Monday night. What could I have as a backup plan? Can only start 3: Lamb, Adams, Waddle, and Collins. Sit Waddle. Yeah, sit Waddle there. I hate starting any of these 3 players: Javonte, Marvin Harrison, or Slick Ricky Pearsall. One, you're going to go with Marvin Harrison. I still have Marvin Harrison at wide receiver 20. Javonte's running back 23. And Ricky Pearsall, we'll talk about him later in the show, so stick around if you want some Ricky Pearsall deep dive, but he's not in the conversation here, considering those other 2 players are pretty damn good. Waddle or Olave in a dynasty rebuild. Ooh, I would go Olave here. I would go Olave because I do think there are brighter days ahead, and Waddle is in the mix of what we're dealing with. It's just going to be ups and downs for Waddle until Tyreek Hill goes away. But I like Olave here. I'm going to go with Olave slightly. But even if you have a chance to get some wins this year and you want to, obviously Waddle. Rush, Mac Jones, or Flacco? Oh, I'm going to go with Cooper Rush. Flacco's going to he has a really tough defense. Cooper Rush could be playing some backup, like real catch-up mode type stuff. And he wasn't terrible. He wasn't good. He wasn't terrible, though. Bucky Irving versus Brian Thomas. Go with Brian Thomas. Mac Jones is a capable enough backup to get Brian Thomas the ball, so I'm going to go Brian Thomas here. Love the Sea Dogs. Yeah, baby, little Maine Sea Dogs, little Portland Sea Dogs, repping the area, repping the New England area. Sutton over Tyreek. Yep. if you have like something like that, like a Sutton, he's wide receiver 28. So in this range, if you have like a Khalil Shakir, a deeper team, if you have a Ricky Pearsall, even I would do that. London Pitts 1.5 TEP. Start one of these guys. Fizz, brother, I mean, you've been rocking the pitch train. Go Pitts. And if you're going to play London, you're going to play Pitts, and you need one of the other, Addison or Marv, I'm going to go with Marv. Javonte versus Kansas City, only other options. Ricky Davis, yeah, you got to fire up. Javonte. He's at least getting the volume. Short yardage touchdowns a possibility. They've been getting after that ass with the sacks and the pressures and all that stuff. So a sack fumble, they get the ball in the 5. There's just better opportunities for a guy who's at least getting the rock in Javonte Williams. Last question, then we'll get into the rankings. Stock 12 started 10 Superflex League. Dakota. So Dak Prescott in the 23rd and the 3rd, or Tua. Oh, give me Tua for sure. Give me Tua. Tua and Dak are close enough in dynasty rankings, and thirds. Confidence on Nico playing late tonight. Yeah, I think he's going to play. It seems like he's going to play. All indicators say he's not a decoy. He's going to play. And for me, I just with that, after seeing what Puka did with the knee, I think he could do the same with, I think it was a hammy, right? So I think there's confidence he's going to play today. But obviously keep it laser beam focused. See what happens. All right, let's get into some ranking stock here. We're going to start at quarterback. At the bottom of the screen here, you'll see my top 25 or top 20, whatever I have it at, the top 26. I think that's what it is now because of the buys and the games that played Thursday. So that's scrolling here so you can see my overall ranking. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you have any decisions to make, you can refer to the rankings at the bottom. But I want to talk specifically about a number of players throughout my rankings here. And the first guy I'm actually going to start with is Tua Tagovailoa. And the reason why I'm bringing up Tua is that, I have a lot of confidence in him this week specifically. I got him as my quarterback 5 this week. And the reason being is kind of being stripped away from me a little bit because I thought this would be the big Tyreek Hill game. The Rams have been the launching pad for good wide receivers all season long. And so it's just one of those things here where I was hoping to ride the Tyreek Hill coattails. But even having said that, he still has Jalen Waddle. OBJ, anyone? And the thing about Tua Tagovailoa, he's still very accurate. I mean, the dude keeps getting his damn bell rung, and he's still very accurate. It's not changing anything. I'm not a doctor, and I'm a certified moron, so this might be completely out of bounds here, but I would imagine just getting your bell rung would be enough for your accuracy and your attention to detail and kind of how you can zip it in and kind of handle those things. I feel like that would be affected, but it hasn't. That's encouraging. I mean, this is a guy that's been accurate even dating back to his days at Alabama. But some of the metrics that pop out to me that I find very encouraging for Tua this week specifically and going forward for the rest of the season is his true completion percentage. He's first in the NFL. His red zone completion percentage, he's third in the NFL. And even when he's being pressured or with a clean pocket, he's still accurate. Now, Tua's accurate. And if I knew right now that Tyreek Hill was out, I probably would sink him to probably right around quarterback 8, so a few spots. But the matchup's great. It's one of the best matchups that quarterbacks can kind of dial up against. According to this model that I put together, my battle score here, the Rams are actually the second or third most advantageous. They're top 5 at least, but Tua's got a nice road ahead of him on top of just today with the Vegas Raiders coming in and the Patriots after that. So if you have Tua and you're just worried about him, I'm confident this week even without Tyreek. But I thought let's talk a little Tua. Let's talk a little Tua because it hasn't been great. It hasn't been uber exciting, but I think that we have big games ahead because the accuracy is still there. And that's what we're looking at for a guy like Tua Tagovailoa. The next player that I want to talk about here, the next quarterback, is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, folks, believe it or not, like what a story. What a story. Just like from I'm seeing ghosts, that whole thing, to now being not only a competent quarterback, but potentially a playoff-bound quarterback and a quarterback this week that I have inside my top 8. I got him at quarterback 7. If I knew Tyreek Hill was out and I was just mentioning I'd move him back to about 8, I would move Sam Darnold up one spot ahead of him. So I would put if Tyreek Hill is out, I would have Sam Darnold ahead. And the thing about Darnold, he's right around the top 10. He's QB 11 in points per game. He's accurate, most accurate he's ever been. About 70% completion percentage. Kevin O'Connell effect. If you're who do they play this week? They play Jacksonville, Doug Peterson. I think it was Doug Peterson made a joke that it's all Justin Jefferson. I don't know why a team who's as terrible as the Jaguars is talking that shite, but they're probably going to get slapped here by Sam Darnold. And then when you look at the analytical profile of Sam Darnold, it doesn't display a guy who's being propped up by one player. I see a guy that's being propped up by a good coach, a great scheme, and then, of course, good weapons. But his completion percentage numbers, whether it be versus man coverage, whether it be being pressured in man coverage, it's good. They're tops of the league. He's been very explosive. He's got a lot of explosive plays downfield. He's been good in the red zone. He's been good with deep balls. Now, that is probably a contributing factor from Justin Jefferson, right? I don't know why I did that. But on a weekly basis, playing Sam Darnold's been pretty good for you. He has really only one true stinker on the entire 2024 season. He's had 4 games of 20 or more fantasy points, 2 more above 15 fantasy points, 1 at 15 fantasy points. He continuously finishes inside or around the top 10. Sam Darnold's pretty good. And this week is just worth mentioning that he's got a good matchup against the Jaguars, the number 1 matchup against quarterbacks, the most advantageous that you can find anywhere. So for me, it was time to just talk about Sam Darnold. Let's a little bit of conversation going regarding Sam Darnold. Now, we're going to get into some ranking talks at running back. And the first guy has to start with, there's no stats. This is his first game back, but we have to talk about it. It's Christian McCaffrey. The king is back, folks. Christian McCaffrey is BACK. He is back. Man on the thumbnail. The man that's led us to fantasy championships. He is back. And he gets a matchup this week against the Bucs that's been middle of the road. It can be wrecked. The game. I don't know, though, because last week I was a little nervous about Kareem Hunt because of the style that he's been running with the Chiefs. He's just up the middle with Vita Vea, and they just kept doing it, and he finished with over 100 yards. And we'll talk more about him, actually, in a second. But why Christian McCaffrey is inside my top 10. I put him at running back 10, and that's probably cowardly, to be honest, but I was trying to just be a little bit honest with my rankings here. I didn't want to put him right away at number 1. I didn't want to drop him down to 15 and be like, oh, let's see. I know he's good, and if I have him on my roster, if I've been holding him on my roster, I'm firing him up today. And the reason is Tampa Bay gives up the most passing work to receive running backs. They allow a lot of work to be done in the receiving game. They give up almost 10 points over the average to receiving backs. And, I mean, is there a better running or receiving running back than Christian McCaffrey? So we have to talk about Christian McCaffrey. We had to talk about him because the king has returned. And I've seen people chat, Rob's in the chat. Oh, my man, T-Rock. What is up, T-Rock? Good morning, everybody. Everyone's in the chat. Harry Snowman's in the chat, and we got some questions piling up. And, of course, after we get through running backs, I'll get back into and talk a little bit more about start-sit questions, get those lineups primed and ready to rack. But, yeah, Christian McCaffrey, you're playing him. He's a top 10 play for me. Even if the workload isn't there, even if he's not the starter, he's so good. And they've been ultra careful with him. Ultra careful. I don't get any sense that they've been rushing him back. I don't get any sense that he's coming back too early. And I don't think that they give him a full workload, but it's Christian McCaffrey. His bad days are 15 points. His limited days are 13 points. You're playing Christian McCaffrey because he always has the upside. And the thing that we always love about Christian McCaffrey, what's made him so special, obviously, is so many things. But also the fact that the Niners will use him in the goal line. And I don't see why they wouldn't do it right away today. I don't see why they wouldn't. I think that Christian McCaffrey's primed for enough stats to be in your lineup, to be confident to put him in your lineup and come away. Sometimes fantasy would be difficult, and just look at it this way: if Christian goes for 25 on your bench, come on, you're gonna be sick to your stomach. So let's make it happen. Let's make the moves, and let's get them wins. Let's get them wins. The next guy I want to talk about here at running back is Kareem Hunt. What is this, 2017? I mean, it's been a fun year, folks. It's been a fun year. But he's been awesome. This week I have him at running back 15, and he's just gotten the damn job done. I don't know what else to say. He has over 400 rushing. He has more rushing yards in 5 games this season than he had last year playing 15 for the Browns. He's averaging 17 fantasy points a game, folks. He averages a top 10 finish each and every week. And when you look at his metrics, they don't really show a baller. They show a guy in a great role, taking care of business. And I'm okay with that in fantasy. Yeah, of course, if you're not if you don't need wins over these next couple weeks, you're trading. You got to trade him because Pacheco will be back. There's rumors that he will be back in week 12. So that's coming up. So if you don't need these wins now, or you're not playing him now, you got to trade him, obviously. But if you need a running back, holy cow, like this has been, this is, I don't even know how to say it. This is just, we're in a time warp, folks. We've gone back in freaking time, and Kareem Hunt has been awesome. I mean, he's getting a lot of touches in the red zone too, which is great. But since returning back to the Chiefs, 10 points, 18 points, 23 points, 13 points, 18 points. I mean, Jesus Louises, he was running back 11 last week. Worth mentioning. I cannot believe it. I'm honestly a little. It's kind of banana land. It's kind of banana land. I got to be honest. Jesus Christ. I'm looking at this now and just in utter shock. Like, I'm trying to keep my brain from shutting down. And I'm like, Kareem Hunt? Yeah, Kareem Hunt, folks. Like, let's fire it up. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll. Kareem Hunt. I'm playing him again today. I think he's even a flex play. Like, if you have running backs better than him and you want to put him in your flex, I'm down to do that for sure. Let's see what we got in the chat. I guess got a couple, and then we'll keep the train rolling. Ryan C. Start 12 team. PPR, 0.2 point PP carry. PP carry. Don't say it like that. Flex Westbrook, Akine, or Akers. You could also flex Disley. It's a 3.0 TEP. You got to go Disley. Got to go Disley. 3.0, that's crazy. That's crazy. And the other options, I don't love the other options. I don't think the carries make a whole lot of difference for Akers. And Westbrook Akine has been touchdown dependent, but it's been with Mason Rudolph, right? And it doesn't look like Mason Rudolph is going to play. Oh, and the spam bots are here. That's how you know we're doing it. That's how you know we're doing it here on the game plan, because the bots are back in town. Next guy I want to talk about here at the wide receiver position is Mr. Josh Downs. Josh Downs has been pretty damn exciting since returning from injury. 14 fantasy points per game since coming back. So he came back in week 3, had a dud, and then since then he's only had one bad game. That was that Miami game. It was a bit of a clusterfuck. But he's doing this all with not really a great snap share, which is encouraging, because I think once those numbers go up, like they get to where they should be, in that 75-80% range, that we could even see more production. But we're continuously seeing him finish over 10 points. We're seeing him finish inside the top 15 at receiver. This week, I have him pretty highly ranked. I think I mentioned it early in the show, but I'll bring it up again. I do have Josh Downs at wide receiver 17. Without Michael Pittman, he's going to be the primary target, and he plays out of the slot a ton. He's 13th in the NFL in slot snaps. He plays there about 71% of the time. So what I like about that is, even when the outside guy's out, his role stays the same, and you can kind of predict it week to week. You can kind of rely on it week to week. And that's something that I find very encouraging. And then when you look at what he's done, top 20 in yards per out run from the slot, that's pretty good. He's got top 20 in yards after catch. Again, from the slot, that's really dynamic. And he's been explosive. He's been pretty dominant out of the slot. Again, those are the type of guys that can develop into the Amon-Ra's, the guys that can truly dominate inside when they line up in the slot. And Josh Downs has been doing it. He's winning routes. He's getting open. He's beating man coverage. He's getting targeted in man coverage because Flacco knows he can beat man coverage. All the stars are aligning for him to be a top 15, top 20 wide receiver rest of season. And, as the season continues, it feels like the relationship between him and Flacco will continue to solidify now that they've made the decision, they've made the change, that it's different, it's done. It's not going to be Anthony Richardson anymore. So Josh Downs is somebody that needs to be respected, needs to be valued all year. And if you've been getting some trade offers and you just haven't loved them, I'd be okay going back to the well and seeing what you got there, seeing how you can make that work. So I love me some Josh Downs this week for sure, and he had to be brought up. Target rate, of course. Target rate is on fire right now, 5th in the NFL. So he's just being peppered when he's on the field. So Josh Downs for me is a great play this week, and he's a locked and loaded starter for me. In going forward, he's just been great. The next receiver that I'm going to talk about here, Ricky Pearsall, Slicky Ricky, pretty Ricky. There's not a lot of statistics to back him up. Of course, he missed a bunch of the season. Due to being, shot with a gun. But he's come back, and I think he's been pretty impressive, to be honest. In his first game back in week 7, he did see 5 targets, caught 3 of them. He was 5.1 fantasy points. And then not last week, they were on bye last week, but in week 8, in just a 60% snap share, 4 targets. He caught all of them for 38 yards. He added some rushing total. So he had 11.7 fantasy points. But the thing about Ricky Pearsall, when you use the eye test, he looks like he can get open. What he was so good at Florida was kind of how he was a dynamic route runner. And it's looking to me like it's translating to the NFL. It looks to me like it looks to me as if he's going to be good. And then without Brandon Ayuk, the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there for Ricky Pearsall to take that next step. And then, bro science, I love my bro science. We've seen over the years, rookies coming out of the bye can be kind of given the keys, given the opportunities to produce at a higher level, to get more of a chance. They're able to game plan them, get them kind of going over that week off. And I'm expecting that to happen this week. I got Ricky Pearsall ranked quite high, I think, relative to the consensus. I got him inside my top 35. I got him at wide receiver 34. He's right in that range of Jalen Waddle, Amari Cooper, Xavier Legette, his teammate Juwan Jennings, and Wan'Dale Robinson. So I very much believe that he can be flexed today in most fantasy situations. The matchup against the Bucs is a pretty advantageous one. Number 6 in my model. So a pretty soft matchup. And if you look at the Niners offense as a whole over these next few weeks, the Bucs, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Buffalo Bills have been tough. Green Bay's been tough. But those 2 games before that are pretty easy. And by tough, I mean, okay, middle of the road. I think this next month or so can pan out pretty well for a guy like Pretty Ricky. And this is a guy that we were high on coming in. First round draft capital, 6'1", 190, ran a 4.4. He bursts. He has good burst, good speed. And the guy got shot. It takes time. It takes time to get comfortable again, right? When you got shot with a gun. So for me, Ricky Pearsall, Pretty Ricky, I'm okay playing Pretty Ricky this week. I think he's a good flex play. And if he's in our seasonal leagues, he's pretty available. I'm stashing him. I think he could be a flex play down the stretch. So I like me some Pretty Ricky Pearsall. All right, we got one question in the chat. We'll get to it, and then we will move on to the next and last position of the day of the breakdowns from today's episode. Tony, what up, Tony? Oh, we got 2. So, we got 3. Oh, keep getting them in. We got you guys. Tony, what's up? Am I valid for crashing out over my CD plus Tillman for Chase trade getting vetoed by the league? Hell yeah, you should be crashing out, my friend. This is a burn the league down type of offense, in my opinion. What is wrong with this trade? What is wrong with that trade? And no matter which way you dice it, whether you're getting the CD Lamb and Tillman or you're getting Chase, it shouldn't be vetoed. It's a fair trade. Matter of fact, like, you can make the argument for both sides super, super cleanly. And if your league vetoed it because of what he did on Thursday, and it's that, and they cling to that much recency bias, find new friends, Tony. Find new friends. Get in a new league. Head over to the Patreon, South Harmon, patreon.com/South Harmon. Jump in the Discord. We have orphans put up there all the time. The guys in the Discord, come in. We'll get you in a league, brother, because that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible, Tony. I would go scorched earth. I would burn this fucking league to the ground, vetoing this trade, no matter which side you were getting. Because either way, this is a fair trade. And guess what? If this was just a few weeks ago, they didn't even know who Cedric Tillman was. Like, let's be real. So I think that's complete bullshit. I think you have every right to be crashing out over such a terrible decision from your league. Evan, what's up? Evan, start 1 half-point PPR. DJ Moore, Rico Dowdle, or Brian Thomas. I got DJ Moore. I'm going to go DJ Moore. I do have him lower in my rankings than I've been with DJ Moore, but I still have him as a top 25 guy, so I'm going to go with DJ Moore. And Brian Thomas Jr., he just hasn't been completely healthy. Mac Jones is enough there for me to make it. And if it was full-point PPR, believe it or not, I would go Dowdle because I think Cooper Rushes are going to check down a bunch. But half-point, I want to go with the explosiveness. I want to go with the big playability of DJ Moore. Start 2. What's up, chill? We so chill. So chill. Start 2. PPR, Lad, BTJ, Downs, JMO, Roma Dunze, Humble Brag. I love these Humble Brag decisions. That is a fantastic wide receiver room. I love it. I'm going to go Downs, and I'm going to go, I think. Yeah. Well, all right. I'm going to do the lame thing. I'm going to give you my analysis. I'm going to do the lame thing. You're going to play Downs. You're going to play Downs here. And then I have a Dunze, JMO, Thomas, and Ladd all within 3 spots or gaps, 3 gaps, because they're all there. But if it was me, I'm going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. But it is close enough that if you have an inkling for Rome, who had a great week, JMO in a good matchup on Sunday Night Football, or Ladd, go for it. Go for it. You can make your decision. You don't have to go with my decision. Chill, okay? It's that close to my rankings that I would leave it up to you. But if it was me, it was my lineup, I would go Brian Thomas, and I would go with Josh Downs. Tony, all right, we got some more for Tony. Good. I've been gaslit these last 40 hours about how I fleeced the trade. Don't let them gaslight you, bro. Don't let them gaslight you. That is a fair trade. It is a straight up fair trade at 6 o'clock. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand which way. If you're moving Tillman and Lamb for Chase, it's obviously because you're nervous without Dak. But you're also paying that gap more so. And then if you have Chase and you want to downside because you're not contending or you'd rather have the depth, Tillman's been balling out. Tillman's been awesome. And then you're just getting seen. Whichever way you want to break it down, it's a super fair trade. If you put this trade into the Dynasty Trade Show with Adam and Mike, I bet you they would be like, wow, this is a pretty damn trade. Whoa, everyone said it's a nice trade. It's a good trade. It's a fair trade. So, Tony, don't let those guys be out there for you. CD has no value anymore. Tillman was on the waiver wire last week. Oh, wow. So this is how they're going about it. So CD Lamb has no value anymore. Okay. So a 25-year-old wide receiver who's been one of the best in the league since he came into the league has no value, even though when he played with this quarterback, he was routinely scoring inside the top, as a wide receiver 2 at worst every single week, 7 for 70 and a touch, 8 for 80 and a touchdown. Like, he was good enough. Was he Jamar Chase? No, but Tillman breaks that gap. This is bullshit. I would go crazy. Tony. All right, last question, then we'll talk a little tight end. Connor, what's up, Connor? Thank you for joining. Half point PPR, half point TEP. Jonnu Smith, Zach Ertz, or Keenan Allen. I'm going to go with Ertz there because you do get a little bit of that TEP. I got Ertz as my tight end 11 against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's really good on the outside, which could present some opportunities for Jaden Daniels to find his veteran tight end. So let's go with that half-point TEP. That'll give you that quick boost because Keenan Allen ain't getting enough receptions, right, on a weekly basis to really kind of push that half-point PPR in his favor. But the half-point TEP does push enough to go in favor of the tight end. And of Jonnu Smith and of Zach Ertz, I am going to go with Zach Ertz. I'm going with Zach Ertz. For sure. All right. Oh, good morning, Chris. Thank you for having Otten or Pitts. Otten. I got Otten's top 3 play. With Evans out and with Godwin out, Otten is a beast. Otten is an absolute beast. I actually broke him down in my rankings last week because he was the top 3 last week. I went right back to the well. Volume, opportunity, like where he's getting the ball. He's just, over and over and over and over and over again. He's just making it happen, doing the Lord's work. Doing the Lord's work here on a Sunday in a position that, by God, we need all the love and help and support that we can at the tight end position. So go out in there. All right. Speaking of tight ends, let's get into the tight ends, shall we, folks? First tight end that I got to talk about today, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, believe it or not, has been beyond sneaky. I don't know if he's been in a lot of lineups, but he should have been in a bunch of lineups because we are now in week 10. We are staring down the barrel of week 10. I believe the Germany game probably has kicked off. It's we're knocking on the door here of the first official game of week. Actually, that was Thursday. So what am I blabbing about? But anyway, I say all those words. I'm making all these noises with my mouth to say, and I'm trying to make it dramatic. So hopefully the tension is building. But what I'm trying to say is we are now past Halloween, and Hunter Henry is a top 10 tight end. He's tight end 8 on a points per game basis. He's doing all this with only 1 touchdown. The touchdowns are coming, but receiving wise, he's 5 yards away from his 2023 total, and he played in only the 9 games. He played 14 games last year. He didn't play all of them, but he played most of them. Receptions, targets, they're already approaching his 2023 totals. And Drake May, after being installed as a starting quarterback, does not mind going to his veteran tight end. Matter of fact, since he's been the starting quarterback, 13 fantasy points, 17 fantasy points, 9 fantasy points, 12.6 fantasy points. And I know the number doesn't sound all that exciting, but that's tight end 7, tight end 6, tight end 19, and then tight end 10. He's getting the ball. And over these last 3 weeks, 9 targets, 6 targets, 8 targets. Last week against the Titans, 4 red zone targets. We pray upon the fantasy gods for red zone targets for our tight end. And now, believe it or not, Hunter Henry is good. He's 7th in yards per team pass attempt for qualifying tight ends. He's been dominant. He's getting a good target premium. The Drake May's proving to be pretty good. He's playing in the slot a bunch. He's being utilized as their best pass catcher because, quite frankly, he is. He's been their most consistent. He's been their most dependable. He's been awesome. And if you're a contender or you're in a seasonal league and this year matters, and you've been rolling out, the Dalton Kincaids and just hoping, if you've been playing the Evan Ingrams and just hoping, if you've been waiting on TJ Hawkins, now is the time, I think, to down tier. I think if you have Sam Laporta in our season and someone believes him, you take that player and you can downshift to Hunter Henry, but truly get more production. He's just been awesome this year. Probably one of the most low-key MVPs in a position that's been, just putrid, just absolutely putrid. And he came at a good price. You drafted him at the end of drafts. Unlike this next guy that I'm going to talk about, a negative guy, Sam Laporta. So if I had Sam Laporta in my seasonal leagues and I could trade him for Hunter Henry and get me a depth piece at running back or get me like a Ricky Pearsall or Cedric Tillman, we talked about him earlier, I'm doing it. This week, though, however, for Sam Laporta, I got him at tight end 12. I don't love him this week. He's got a tough matchup against Houston. Houston actually gives up about 5 points less than league average. That's 27th. That's not good. And the fact of the matter is, sometimes you just got to say it, right? Sometimes you just got to catch your breath and say it. This season, at least, Sam Laporta has 2 touchdowns, and both of them have come on trick plays. Let that sink in. Last year, Sam Laporta had double-digit touchdowns. Last year, Sam Laporta was tight end 3 on a points-per-game basis. He had 10 touchdowns. This year, heading into Week 10, playing 8 games because they had their bye, he has 2 touchdowns, and both have come on trick plays. Both of them. He caught a fleet flicker, whoopie-doozy play against the Cowboys, and then he caught a touchdown from David Montgomery. And that game, when he caught the touchdown from David Montgomery, it happened during National Tight End Week. It was his best week of the season, 16.8 fantasy points, still finished as tight end 8 because that week everybody went off. That was the Oprah touchdown for tight end week. You get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown, and you get a touchdown. But what's most discouraging about Sam Laporta? Over the last month, 1 target, 2 targets, 6 targets. That was the game that he balled out, tight end 8. And then 3 targets last week against Green Bay. The Lions they're more than happy to be a run team, to smash it down people's faces. And then they have Amon-Ra, and now they're getting JMO back. It just feels like the use of Sam Laporta is way more beneficial for the Lions and for them winning football games than it is for our fantasy teams. And don't get me wrong, Sam Laporta is a great player. And he does the things that if I'm building a team, I want Sam Laporta. He can block. He can go out. He can be split out into the slot. He can go out wide. I like Sam Laporta, the player. He's a fantastic player. And if this was Madden, give me all the Sam Laporta that I can have. If I can force the targets that way, hell yeah. But that's not the game that we're playing here. We're playing a proxy of another game, and that game is telling us that we should not be excited to play Sam Laporta each and every week because it has been bad, it's been ugly, and sometimes it's been downright depressing. So that's it. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the WoRP stuff, but I don't know how to do this. How do we get these spams out? We're going to have to talk to the boys about how we can get these damn spams out. It's pretty damn annoying. And let's go. We're going to see what we have in the chat here. Tracy versus, well, this decision's already been made. But I have Tracy ranked higher, so I hope you went Tracy there, Tony. 2 QB league. I'm up against Lamar and Burrow. Just crack up a couple of cold ones, my friend. Just crack open a couple of cold ones because holy shit, this has been a rough couple days. We're looking at that score for that, but I'm pulling for you, Chris. I'm pulling for you, man. Let's go. Mooney, Shakir, or Pickens. Pick 2. I have Mooney and I have Pickens, but I do have Shakir ranked pretty highly this week. I do like Shakir and what he's brought to the table for that offense, but I'm going to go Mooney and Pickens. Pollard, Downs, or BTJ. Give me Downs. Give me Downs. Would I play Hunter Henry over Dalton Kincaid this week? I have him 6 and 7. I have Kincaid 6, Hunter Henry 7. I would probably put it this way, Ryan. If Amari plays, I'm going Henry. If Amari doesn't play, I'm going Kincaid. And you'll be able to make that decision. I believe they both play at 1 o'clock. Speaking of 1 o'clock, what a crazy slate today. We have a 9:30 game, 100 games at 1 o'clock, and 1 game at 4. Not 1, but like 3. It's very split up this week for show. I think you just got to block them if they pop up. I don't have the option to block it. Just said, ban this user. You're the man, DB. Let's get the chat going. Dynasty Berry. DB. And just like that, you're out of here, fucking spammers. We got that one. So it now just totally threw me off. Waddle or Marvin Harrison, full point PPR. I'm going to go Marv here. I still got Marv inside my top 20 for show. Oh, I banned him. Yeah, we got him, DB. We got him. Redraft, he has no value. So okay. That's what they're talking about for. Oh, wait. Okay. I thought this. Tony, is this what you mean by CeeDee Lamb? He has no value because it's seasonal? He still does. That's the point. Doesn't matter if it's Dynasty. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But if you're talking about in relativity to the Porta. I understand what you're saying. All right, let's keep the train moving. Let's talk here. This is a segment that I like to call This Week in WoRP. Okay, and the first guy I got to talk to you about is our guy, Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard, believe it or not, Chuba Hubbard is actually top 30 overall in wins over replacement. So if you're unfamiliar, wins over replacement is a value metric that was created by our guy Coop, and it helps kind of cut through all positions, kind of cuts out all the BS. How valuable is this player in relativity to someone that is replaceable? So if you were to cut him and bring in the replacement level player, how many wins or losses would you add or lose to your team? And so far, Chuba Hubbard's been crazy valuable. He's been more valuable than David Montgomery, James Conner, and Tony Pollard. Those are all players that are performing at a high level. And the thing about Chuba Hubbard and why I wanted to bring him up is the extension, right? The extension now kind of solidifies this player at least over the next couple of years. So if there's the guy who rosters Chuba Hubbard in your league is kind of asleep at the wheel, thinking that, oh, Jonathan Brooks is coming back right now. No, this guy stinks. This guy stinks. Let's trade him. I'm taking advantage. I don't, the Jonathan Brooks factor seems like we're not really going to have to worry about that until next year. I mean, being an inactive after being activated, not good. It's not good. But Hubbard has been good. Hubbard's been awesome. 15.3 fantasy points per game. He did kind of start to taper off a little bit. I say that taper off, and he's still scoring 11 and 9 fantasy points. But then last week hits the scene in a huge win for the team, morale and all that stuff. It's 21.2 fantasy points. He was running back 10. And you look at the underlying metrics. Sorry, my kids came home from school. They got a cold. So of course, me and my wife now have a cold. So if you see me picking out my bugs, I apologize. But Hubbard's been creative. He's been evasive. He's been able to get breakaway runs. He's been good as a receiver. The volume really hasn't been there as a receiver, but there's still room for him to kind of grow in that role because he's being utilized. I mean, he's top 10 in receptions. He's getting about 3 receptions per game at the running back position. And he's making the best out of it. I mean, he's creating a bunch of yards. He's doing so much that the team decided, I'm going to give this guy an extension. I'm going to give this guy a 4-year deal. And when you look at the WoRP, it's surprising to me that a guy like this can kind of be cast aside. People can think they're getting one over on their league mate by selling high. They're not selling high enough. I can tell you that right now. If Chuba Hubbard is for sale in your league, they're not selling high enough because the top 30 overall player, running back 14 in WoRP, that's not necessarily what the market's kind of suggesting because of the looming and other factors. But I think this extension for sure is something that can kind of solidify the value that we're seeing over a longer period of time, which I think will provide a nice blanket of nice little warm, comfortable blanket of excitement and all that stuff for Chuba Hubbard. So looking at the WoRP this week, I was very happy to see that Chuba Hubbard is as valuable as he's felt like this year. Right. So I went with Chuba Hubbard. The next guy I'm going to talk about it's going to break my heart. This really is going to hurt my heart. Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's he's fucking killing our teams. Amari Cooper's killing us this year. We can never truly bench him. Right. That's kind of the nightmare that is Amari Cooper this season because when you do, he can go 12 targets, 7 catches, 86 yards, 2 tutties like he did in week 3 for 5 fantasy points. Or he could do what he did, his first week with the Bills. 5 targets, caught 4 of them, 66 yards and a touchdown. He's wide receiver 14 on the week. He's so good that you hate to bench. But when you look at the WoRP and how terrible he's really been over the course of the season, 121. He's wide receiver 51 in WoRP. God, that stinks. God, that makes me just... It's so depressing. And now this wrist thing. And, you go to a new team. Are they starting to think he's unreliable because of the wrist injury? I don't know. You don't know what's happening in there. But, man, he's killing our fantasy teams. And in seasonal leagues, in our 10 or 12-team seasonal leagues, I'm okay dropping him. Oh, right. Oh, mi corazón. Oh, I'm dropping him. I'm okay dropping him there. But in our 14-teamers, seasonal, no, you got to hold on. He's still a flex play. And Dynasty, you're obviously not selling too low. because it's just what are you getting? What are you getting from right now? I got him a wide receiver 32 this week because the matchup is great. You know what? My love for Amari Cooper is making me kind of change my win. If he doesn't play this week, he's a drop. If he doesn't perform this week, he's a drop in seasonal. Okay, because this matchup against the Colts, I mean, he should be able to dominate. He should be able to do his thing. He should be able to work the field. He should be able to really kind of make his presence known in this game. So I'm giving one more week. Amari, I'm giving you one more week. Amari, I'm giving you one more week. And the last guy I'm going to talk about here for WoRP this week in WoRP is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is a buy. Cooper Kupp is a buy for contenders or in seasonal formats. Cooper Kupp, you know, in terms of overall wins over replacement, he doesn't rank all that high. He's not as, you know, what do you want to call it? He's not as exciting when you look at the WoRP over the course of the season, but he's missed some time, right? But when you look at his WoRP per game, folks, is as high as it's ever really been. I mean, on a WoRP per game basis, Kupp is fifth highest behind just running backs. He's the highest WoRP wide receiver on a per game basis in the league right now at 0.226. Right in line with Alvin Kamara, right in line, obviously, with Nico Collins, who's another buy, but I think there's more excitement surrounding Nico Collins. Where Kupp, now that he's been back, he hasn't really had that Cooper Kupp game, even though he's been awesome. And sometimes you got to take advantage of the psychology of your league. And if your league mate that rosters Kupp is not looking at him like the Kupp of old, go ahead and take that player off his hands, because last week was good, top 10 finish. Actually, I'll take it back. Last week in that overtime game against Seattle, it was kind of his big breakout game. Either way, it just needs to be said that his WoRP per game is as high as any wide receiver in football, and it was worth just bringing up. And he's a buy, he's a stash, he's a play, he's an exciting player. He's still who we thought he was. Cooper Kupp this week, I have him at wide receiver 10 this week, but looking at it, I should have him higher. I'm going to make that change right now, folks, and live on the air. I'm making that change. He should be higher. He should be top 5. He's awesome. Cooper Kupp's awesome. And as long as he's healthy, he's just a difference maker. He's ultra valuable every single week. So Cooper Kupp, I love you. Monday Night Football bonanza. You're going to be excited to have him on your team. All right, folks. That's it there. That's the last 3 this week in WoRP players. Let's see what we got in the chat. We'll answer any final questions, and then I'll do my Kiwoom call of the week, and then I'll let you get back to that football game. Hopkins or Pickens? Let's go with Pickens. I got Pickens slightly higher, but man, was that cool to see D-Hop doing his damn thing on Monday Night Football last week. People went way too ham on Amari. They have. We know what he can do, but you have to have the confidence. You actually put him in your lap. It's true, DB. It's true, and that's why I'm putting a referendum on Amari Cooper this week. Or no, this is it. You're done. Done ties, as the once wise Snooki from Jersey Shore once said. If he doesn't do it this week, done ties. Done ties with Amari. Okay, I have a full lineup question. Let me hear it, brother. Let me hear it, Chris. Because you need it. You need a massive comeback after going against Burrow and Lamar. That must have been a nightmare on Thursday. An absolute nightmare. So you got to sit one Kupp. These plays are awesome. Chris, these plays are fucking awesome. All right. But you got to sit one. That's the nature of the game that we play. I'm sitting Tyreek. Fuck it. I mean, what I said at the top of the show, Chris, if you have a good option, I'm not risking it. I'm not waiting. You got 7. I'm sitting Tyreek here. This is easy for me. I'm sitting Tyreek. Where are you pivoting off Cooper to, though? What do you mean? I'm not pivoting off Cooper Kupp. If you're a rebuild and you're trying to sell, who would I target? I'm shooting high. I'm shooting either at Marv or maybe Rome plus. I'm shooting high. Yeah, you gotta sit Tyreek. Oh, my bad, Ryan. My bad. Duh. There's too many Coopers going on here. Amari Cooper. Where am I pivoting off Cooper? If I got him in Dynasty, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. If he does well over these, I'd wait. If you have a deadline and you can't, then you got to pull the trigger now. But I'd wait. If you have to pull the trigger now, I'd actually look at like the Xavier Legette's maybe. I think I'd try to get me some Legette or some Ricky Pearsall plus a pick. If you want to go a little bit lower in the rebuild, like an Adonai Mitchell and a better pick, something like that. But if you have the opportunity to wait a little bit, Ryan, I would, and hope that he gets some of those games, up, and you could start targeting a little bit higher up the list. You could start maybe being in the range to acquire a guy like a Lad McConkey, maybe. I could see potentially that if he plays good enough. But yeah, I would wait if you can. I'd wait if you can, but I'm holding. Like I said, 1 week, done ties. Okay, here we go, folks. We've got one more question from DB. Okay, DB's helped me in the chat. You're the man, DB. I love you, DB. All right, last thing of the day, the Kiwoom call of the week. Saquon Barkley goes for over 200 yards from scrimmage. Dallas Cowboys cannot stop the run. The Dallas Cowboys are terrible in terms of most defensive metrics, but against the run, they are horrific. And Barkley has been so good. Now, will he do the reverse hurdle? I don't know. Hopefully. That was badass. But Dallas, I mean, they don't stop the run. They give up almost 10 points to league average in terms of rushing. They give up 5 points over league average in terms of receiving backs. And I think that this is a massive day. Saquon Barkley is my running back one this week. I love Saquon Barkley. He's doing everything you want. You pop the hood and look at his underlying metrics. They totally support the player that we've seen on the field. And with this matchup, the Eagles are going to want to bury the Cowboys, absolutely bury them. So for me, my Kiwoom call of the week, Saquon Barkley goes for 200-plus yards from scrimmage. And that's it, folks. That's the episode. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you to Ryan, of course, Dynasty Barry, the legend, to Chris, to Tony. Hopefully you can figure that out. Gooner Boy, everyone in Nova. I'm just looking through here. Of course, Rob and T-Rock and Fizz. I found another freaking spam guy. Block your bitch ass too. Spam be gone. DTs. Everybody that's here today, thank you so much. John, I see you in there. Thank you guys for tuning in, tapping in. Make sure you like this video. If you have a lineup decision, a lineup question that you'd like answered, drop it in the chat. Leave it in the comments. I got you. I'll make sure to answer it again. But please leave a comment. Smash that like button. And make sure you come back to the South Harmon YouTube channel at 12 noon. Our guy, Eric Vanek, T-Rock, and company will be helping you solidify those rosters and help you get those Week 8 dubs. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for tapping in. Head over to southharmonff.com. Join the South Harmon community, the best community in fantasy football. Get the WoRP Tool, just under $7 a month to get the best and most useful tool in fantasy, that WoRP Tool. And then join the community, patreon.com/South Harmon. Get up in there and let's have some fun. Guys, keep game planning, and I will see you next week for Week 11. Peace.